All right. Let's see. All right, so I think I'm going to have a nice kind of basic blue background, which is just fine. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Oh, and I ended up with a line smack dab down the middle. All right, well, this is a place to begin. So this gives me a nice light background, which is perfect. And I'm going to set out some of these. Did I move that water bottle? I did. All right, so I have a water that basically I ended up leaving in my car. Not the best of things when you things to do when you live somewhere where, you know, outside feels like 116. Thanks so much. Let's not do that again. I'm gonna grab, where's my juniper green? It's a little bit of a blue. A little bit of an ultramarine blue. So what I'm going to do, which you're going to be able to see right here up to the side, is the same colors that I used to do this. I'm going to get them all kind of shaken. I don't want that something that dark. Juniper green. All over here shaking. Shake, 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 shake. Ah, okay. All right, so we're going to take these, and just like I do with my other watercolors, I'm going to actually dilute these with some water. Now, I happen to really like this blue. It's a nice, vibrant blue, so I kind of want more of that one. The turquoise blue is also quite lovely. And I think I figured out what I want to do. So I want this nice, rich blue background, kind of a blue-green. And I am going to use an iridescent. Ah! No! It spilled. Oh, y'all, look, this spilled all over. Like, I don't even see this. It spilled all over my hands. And I want to get that just ginormous, tiny dot, but will lead to bigger dot problems. Well, you know what? If I can get this stuff liquefied fast enough, it should be all right, but something leaked. Okay, well, that's awesome. Not really. All right, that should be sufficient. So now my fingers are blue in all kinds of ways. All right. And then this is, well, now, okay. This is a juniper green, but apparently it has no stopper. Awesome. Not so much. Not so much. Okay. Well, there's a surprise. Let's set that one off to the side over there because that's an unpleasant discovery to make. All right, so I'm just taking regular water and I'm going to add that in there because what this is going to do is, one, it dilutes the color down, okay? But when I pour, I'm going to be able to, like, pour over the top of that. You're going to see I'm going to be able to kind of pour all over all the way around. And this is mildly diluted. I'm going to be able to use my brush to kind of swirl this around. And I'm planning on using, okay, problem number one. My panel is not actually flat on the table. So let's lift and get a little something, something over here so that the watercolor doesn't do what it just did, which is pour all off on the side. All right, then here we go. We're going to get some of these darker colors in here. All right, I'm going to take my paintbrush, which has not got water in it, and we're going to use this, and we're going to just move this paint around. I'm going to let it kind of do its thing, but I want to move it around the board, okay? And again, this is going to take multiple layers to get the effect that I want, because I'm not going to use, I've got that base coat on, this base layer on, which is sufficient, right, for what I want to do, so that I can get this kind of lovely, kind of mottled effect that's happening naturally thanks to the watercolor canvas. Okay, we're going to leave that. We're going to leave it out in the open. I'm going to actually probably put a fan on it, so that will help it to dry. I'm going to set that right there. I've got a fan we're going to turn on. And then, guys, you're going to get this most awesome experience of pause video. Because I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to let this bad boy dry. And then I'm going to come back. And it's going to be like nothing to you. And heaven help me, it's going to take a hot minute for that to dry. And again, just remember that I'm looking at creating like this swirl. And so I'm really kind of excited about how this is going to go. So I'm noticing that even with this here, it's wanting to kind of pull around the edges, and that's all right. I'm going to continue to kind of pull some of this through in order to get kind of what I want. And it's going to take layers. Right, guys, so this one is going to take us, this one's going to take some time because it's going to need multiple layers. Well, that dark turquoise, that juniper green. Okay, well, fortunately, so you know that one didn't have a stopper. Fortunately, I have a new set because I ran out of yellow. And that juniper green is the one that did not, for whatever reason, have a stopper. But this one does. Alright, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some of that juniper green in a couple of places. And then I'm going to use my brush to kind of manipulate that around. Again, it's that nice kind of, it's going to give me that nice dark kind of bluish green that I'm going to want to have. See, and I'm just going to pull some of this up and up and up and in and around. Oh. Where there's a will, there's a way. Now, I think the one thing that I might do with this, because I do want to have some texture back here, is I'm going to grab down in my gigantic bag of tricks here. I have some fresh, oh, I do. I have some that's just blue. Alright, so this is just gigantic bubble wrap. And I've got a little bit of a piece of drywall tape that just kind of stuck there, so we're going to throw that in there. I'm just going to set that in there. I'm okay if it doesn't all touch, that's fine. Again, my fingers are going to be just completely doused in random bubble wrap, and I'm going to throw this right here. And it's going to give me some texture that the other wasn't giving me. And then let's see. This has some of the other colors and that I wouldn't mind having. Even though it's a little purple. Kind of want more of a blue-green, but a little bit of a purple wouldn't hurt. And I will get this. Here, let me turn my fan off. This fan works a little differently than another one that I have. All right. And then I'm going to come up here. Notice I'm not doing the whole thing. Am I going to get a line right across there? You betcha. I sure am. And that is going to be okay. I'm going to pull. It's going to give me a little bit of line weight. All right. So one of the things that I want you to realize that part of what I started doing with this piece is I'm approaching it in some ways the way I do a collage. When I'm doing a collage, it's about layers of paper, layers of texture. Sometimes paper that I've painted, sometimes it's hand marbled paper that I've got that I'm using. And it's leaving an impression, right? So what I'm doing is a printmaking technique that's going to leave an impression behind, right here. I'll end up with this, this kind of, you can start to see it here. It's going to look like little bubbles. It's going to look like little pieces. I'm going to leave that here. That's going to give me the texture. This, once this dries, this drywall tape is going to give me some texture. This is going to give me some texture. And because I have some paint on it already, when it's wet, that's the wonderful thing about watercolor. When it's wet, some of that paint is going to transfer. So there was lots of blues, and then there was some purple up in here. That's going to transfer on here, leaving this section as is. No additional paint, no additional anything with this one. And that will start to dry. That will also give me an additional texture. And I'm going to be able to build up these layers of color so that when I add, I really do. I'm now in my head, I'm like, I want that tri-spiral to be an iridescent. And so I have some iridescent watercolors, so I can come in here and I can use that and I can draw those on and get those painted in. But for now, I need this background. So I need something that's going to allow the textures to come through. So when this is going to dry, this is going to give me a texture. This is going to give me a texture. And I'm going to be able to come back in again with another round of color. And I'm going to pull in a little bit more blue-green. I'm going to pull in a little bit more of the greens in order to start adding some of that rich depth of color. So this is going to give me some texture and some color, right, with the purple up there and then the various blues that I don't currently have in my Doc Martens. And then, because I also use other paints, as you already know. So that'll get this started. So I'm going to pause this so that you don't have to have the delightful torture of waiting for paint to dry. And so I'm going to see you right back here in just a hot second. And magically, this is going to all be nice and dry. Okay. So I had to come take a peek. And so what you're seeing is that I've got my stapler, my heavy duty stapler sitting on top because this is still very wet under here, and if you push down, you'll be able to see that you'll get a little bit more contact with the bubbles. And so I'm going to add, so it'll add to the texture that you're going to see. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some additional weight so that I can get that. But I took a peek under here because this part is dry. Where the bubbles are, where it's accumulating that water right there, it's more moisture. So it's going to take longer for that to dry. But this appears to have dried. So we're going to pull this off and reveal it's it's still a little damp. But look at what happened. A little magic occurred right there. I like that. And I have this really pretty line across here. So I'm really pleased with this. We're going to let this continue to dry. And, maybe this doesn't go green. There's a little bit of green in here, but let's see what happens with this and determine whether or not we really need another layer across it. And it may end up not being what I thought it was going to be, and maybe this is a different painting altogether. But let's give this a shot. Let's let this finish drying. So I will see you in a few hot seconds once this is dried up. Okay, I'm going to be really honest. I have no idea if this is dry or ready or not. It's sort of dry. Not really dry. It's only sort of dry, but I can't wait. I want to see what this looks like. And sometimes I can... Nope, I can't. I am not going to be able to pull that up. Nope. I am not going to be able to pull that up. All right, well, that answered my question. It's not dry enough. I thought I could get away with it, but I cannot. So, all right, I'm sharing my computer. So I will have to learn a new technique of how to stitch some video together so that you get a longer video. So I will learn something new. Oh, and just as an update, I'm still working on the Longhorn. Y'all, I don't really have, it's not really easy for me to show you because of the way this camera is set, so it's flipped so you can actually see this. If I try to elevate it and lift it up so you can actually see the Longhorn, it'll be upside down. The horns look good. I've got that cleaned up, but the head, y'all, the head is driving me crazy and the ears are driving me crazy, and I still have not figured out how to solve it. Yeah. I may, the next time I do one of these, drop it in so you can see what it looks like, and why I am still processing and staring at it. I really like the background, but the head is just not what I want it to be. It's improving, but then it doesn't now match the ears don't go with it. The horns are a little now too pale, and the frustrations of an artist with something that you can see in your head and it's not what's coming out on the canvas. So anyway, I'm going to close this video out, and then there'll either be another one right behind it, or I'm going to post it as two separate videos. Whichever works out that makes the most sense for my brain. So hope you'll have a good one. You are amazing. You are wonderful. Please try painting on your own. I'd love to hear your comments. And even leave me a note about you deciding to try to watch, you're trying your own watercolors, trying your own painting, being creative in some form or fashion. All right. So I will see you in the next video. Y'all have a good one.